I also picked up another controller from prior, like as a new Facebook Marketplace purchase, and I'm like, I bought it from a dude. I'm like, this is new, sealed, $50, just generic white. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I look at him, I'm like, you work at a GameStop, don't you? Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about entertainment, video games, life, a little bit of everything between. I'm your host, Joe, and with me, the man who dragged his mother across the border so he can have her watch him as he just goes face deep into some poutine. Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Hey Joe, doing good. I actually didn't get any poutine uh, while I was in Canada. Um, I the first meal I had in Canada was a burrito and a mango Doritos.
And then you asked for a side of freedom fries with that, or?
I should have, yeah. Yeah, my mom was just like, "Hey, let's go there," and I was like, "Okay," and because we were trying to go on some hike or something like that, and then after the fact, I was like, I just this is stupid. I should have at least gotten pizza or something, not literal Mexican food in Canada. But it is what it is. It was a fine burrito at a fine establishment. Yeah. So yeah, that was my day in
Bare
Canada.
minimums you should have gone to was like Tim Hortons, dude. Just like, you
Well,
know.
we were in Waterton Lakes National Park, and it was just this little tourist trap area. So we're kind of at the mercy of what was there, and there wasn't very much that was there. It was all I should have looked for like some Canadian fare, that's for sure. But anyway, it is what it is. I'll go back again someday. I actually I have a friend that lives in Canada, and he's like, you should come up and visit me and hang out. And I'm like, yeah, I should. So I need to plan that at some point.
Yep, I've heard that before. So,
Yes, and you shall hear it again. But yeah,
all right.
otherwise doing good. How are you, Joe?
Getting over being sick.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
my little dude caught some strep, and then he got better. And then almost a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I caught it, and then he got it again. So
Mm.
I'm just gonna blame his daycare. Uh, and yeah, I got it really bad actually. So I'm on the mend, as they say. So yeah, sorry if my voice sounds a little off. But yeah, it's I'm doing much better at least. But also, I've been spending quite a bit of money
Yes,
because I
yes, you
kind
have.
of okay. So I ended up a buddy of mine he decided to upgrade his computer, and so he offloaded his uh, 2070 Super to me for $100. So I'm like, all right, great,
It's nice.
because my old computer, which is my wife's, is running a 970. So it's an old one. It's running a like Intel like 470 or 4700 or something. It's a really old. Yeah, we're on 13th gen and it's running a fourth. So like
Yeah,
four core, like just barely.
I know. I know that.
So
I know that GPU very well.
yeah, the 970 is it's bare minimum. Like I forgot, you just played a game not that long ago where I looked up the specs
It
and it was like the
was
bare minimum.
it was the mouse game uh with the brother and sister. Anyway,
Oh,
a
the
Plague Tale.
yeah, I was gonna say all I could think of is Requiem.
A Plague Tale 2, a Plague Tale Requiem, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that was the bare minimum specs, and it showed. It definitely showed in that game.
So yeah, so I was like, all right, well, uh, since I'm getting something that's a little older, I'm running a currently in my rig, a 10900 K or KF. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's KF. So I was like, all right, well, why don't I upgrade my motherboard and CPU, and then I can just kind of pass my current rig down, and I can upgrade and just keep my GPU because I have a 3080, and that's still plenty fine for me. So I ended up finding a micro center nearby that was running a deal for a 770 or 7700X CPU, motherboard, RAM, all together for like $400. So it's a pretty good deal. Um, but I was kind of on the fence for it, left it in my cart. And then one morning at like 4 a.m. with when the kids woke me up super early, I just happened to be on the couch and I looked in my cart. I'm like, oh yeah, that's still there. Wait, why does it say $230? And I'm like, is that an error? And I re-looked at the sale. I'm like, no, it says 400 right here. Okay, what happens if I remove it and add it back to cart? Yeah, it still says 230. Hmm. I'm gonna hit reserve because you can't actually buy it, but like they'll hold it for you and they give you confirmation number. And I'm like, I'll go in and see what happens. Uh, Went in and I'm like, so this isn't like an open box thing, is it? Or like these aren't like return goods, refurbished or something? Like, nope, all brand new. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, because currently it still shows it at 400 because they fixed the error, I guess, after I reserved my stuff. And they were, he's like, nope, 230 or 240 or something like after tax. I'm like, sure, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this now.
And then
uh,
run out of the
so it's
store.
yeah. Well, I actually while I was there, since I'm keeping my 3080, and I mentioned it a while ago, since my unit's no longer under warranty, I was going to go ahead and upgrade it. I wanted to do a custom loop, and so they had a water block for my particular model, and that water block is going for like $60 because it's like on clearance. So I was like, sweet, because even during I checked them out during Prime Day, and they were still like $150 on Amazon. So it was just like, all right, well, that's $60, can't really beat it. And now I'm gonna be spending more money than I intended because I'm gonna go with a custom loop, but I saved money on the CPU, motherboard, and RAM. So, but now I have to buy a PSU, a case to fit everything in, some more, a new hard drive because this thing also runs the new NVMe spec, the Gen 4, like the PlayStation. And then I also have to buy radiators, tubing, a CPU water block. I'm like, oh, dude, that's gonna be. I mean, you can get like a Corsair bundle for like $500. They have better, like cheaper ones, uh, like Thermal Right or something, Thermal Take. They have like a set for 350 or something. So there are some cheaper alternatives, but yeah, now I'm looking at spending a bunch more money just to upgrade my current rig to make it a little bit better. But at least my wife's rig is going to be substantially better than what she has currently.
Yeah, that's
And
gonna be awesome.
yeah, I'm excited about it because I've never done a custom loop, and so it's of course I'm doing the debate of hard tubing, soft tube, stuff like that. I kind of want to just do hard tubing straight out the gate, but it all depends on my space, and like what kind of case, you build everything around the case, and so I'm still trying to find the right case for my current home setup. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But that'll be a fun project, and I then decided to the guy who I bought my VR from, because I bought that on Facebook Marketplace. He contacted me, letting me know that he actually has the steering wheel and a chair for Gran Turismo, uh,
Ah,
and he sold it to me for like way cheaper than you would normally be able to buy. Um, so like the steering wheel and like chair, like the steering wheel by itself is like $400, like new.
wow.
Um,
Dang.
and the chair, it was like another $200. Um, I bought it for like for him, like 320 or something. So yeah, I spent a little bit more money.
Yeah.
And then I had to spend $70 on the game, but luckily I had just spent. I'm like, okay, the PlayStation sale happened the first like couple weeks. I'm like, all right. Unfortunately, GT is not on sale. All right, I bought it. Hadn't actually got a chance to play it, and but I had downloaded it. So that's apparently if you ever want a refund on PlayStation, you have to buy it. Don't and you cannot download it, and within 2 weeks you can call for a refund. Well, what happened was a week later, the one sale ended for their summer sale, and then they busted out part two, and on part two is when they had Gran Turismo for $20 less, and I was like, son of a gun. All right, well, like I hadn't actually played it, but I did download it, and it goes like, a lot of people are like, on the on forums are like, "You're screwed, man. You're screwed." I'm like, let me just call somebody and see. I'm not going to send in a ticket. I'm going to go ahead and call and see if I can get a hold of someone. So I called, waited in a hold for like half an hour, got a hold of somebody, and I was just, you play really stupid and play really polite and be like, "Hey, yeah, I didn't know if you could help me with this," and try to be just really cool. Like, "Yeah, I'd be glad to help you with this." "Oh, I'm super happy you can help me with this." Okay, so now that said I'm glad that he's helping me with this, and I kind of pin him into a corner, I'm like, I don't. I said, "Yeah, I haven't played the game, and I've only had it for a week and a half." And he's just like, "Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, I can totally help you with this." I'm like, "Great, I'm glad you could help me with this." Um, and I never brought up the fact that I downloaded it. But he got me my refund. And he's like, "Well, what's the reason?" I'm like, "Well, I just bought it, and now it's $20 less. So I'd like to be able to rebuy it at the cheaper price." And he's like, "Okay, sure." And he helped me out, and I was super, grateful. Just kind of making small talk during the entire time. And uh, props to John, if that's your real name. But he totally helped me out, and I ended up using I spent more money because of the other games on sale. So yeah, uh, just that was my bad for just downloading it, but also it was towards the end of the month, so I'm like, that's a big game, so I'm just going to download these files because I have a data cap in my area. So that's why I had downloaded it before the end of the month, and it was
And
just at the new month. That's when the new sales came in.
you ended up being able to still get that discount. So
Yeah,
you got
so
both
super solid there.
both solid wins there. That's really
Yeah, for
cool, man.
sure.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of good stuff. I mean, you spent a lot of money, but you've got a bunch of really good deals on stuff that you already wanted and might have gotten eventually anyway. But
The
yeah,
chair, I would have never bought the steering wheel and chair otherwise. But like
yeah.
all I've just read nothing but glowing things about um, Gran Turismo and PSVR. And the other thing is, I kind of want to just rub it in my father-in-law's face when it comes to visit next time. He's a huge racing fan.
Oh yeah.
He actually, yeah. So I'm like, I just kind of be like, yeah, here he actually has PSVR one. They bought it just for Beat Saber, and then he kind of wanted to do some racing and stuff in it, but like some of the games aren't ideal for it. But he dropped like $350 on like a Logitech wheel, and I got like the one I have is like a Thrustmaster. uh so it's, the thing's really well built and it's really awesome. So it's one of those, like, when he comes by in going to be a couple weeks actually, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, surprise! Check out what's in the basement. You should have a seat." And I'm just gonna gloat real hard and just watch him.
Suck it,
Uh,
Bill. I
Gran
hope that's
Turismo
not
does
his
a
real
really neat
name,
thing.
but I just wanted to give the most father-in-law a name.
Oh man, no, the dudes. I actually I really like my father-in-law, so it's just gonna be funny because um, this is probably gonna affect him pretty good, and I'm just gonna see him be like, he's retired now, so I'm like, I want to see how long it takes before he buys himself a new rig.
Yeah.
Um, and he's no, but it's like Gran Turismo does this really neat thing where uh you can literally play, on your TV, no problem, and then just seamlessly switch over to VR. So
Nice.
you don't have to like exit the game, enter the game, or like do like any rigmarole. And I haven't gotten to play with it too much, but it's pretty cool what little I played with it since. But I've been mostly focusing on some other games, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's been a long 3 weeks since our last cast. So
Yeah, man.
uh,
It has been a long 3 weeks, but yeah, that's good. I mean, got a lot of stuff, and we do have some news, but yeah, I mean, it's good stuff.
all right. Well, yeah, let us know. Well, I guess, well, first off, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you guys survived the fires and smoke inhalation. So good for you.
Yeah, there was some of
Uh,
that floating around, but it didn't affect us too much, so that was good.
all right. Well, yeah, for sure. And yeah, so let us know what, we just got a few news topics, and then, we're going to try to keep it a little shorter side this week. So, and then we'll get back to our normal. But this is, once again, another Dead Pixel. We are recording this on the 11th of August, and this is episode 50. So, I mean, surprise, surprise, we made it this long. So,
Yeah, surprise,
uh,
surprise. Yeah, we are pretty close to our anniversary. I don't know exactly what day it was, but it was in August. I think it was like toward the end of August, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it consistently except for the last week, last time, and that's been pretty impressive on our end too. So that helps because it's every other week, but still. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, take us away. What's the news topics?
All right. So first up, sources are saying that Nintendo targets 2024 with next gen console. So this is a little bit older news. There was rumors that dev kits were going out, that dev kits had gone out, like hardcore rumors, back at the beginning of July, and then this news came out on July 31st. At least that's when Video Games Chronicle was reporting it, I think. And but yeah, so it seems that it's official, and Nintendo's looking to put out the next gen console, Switch 2, whatever they end up calling it, in 2024, presumably Christmas 24. So we're at least a full year away, over a full year away, I would think. Maybe September at the very earliest, but I'm thinking like an October, November launch. I don't know. You never know. But oh, kind of staring there. Okay. But anyway, so I'm excited. There's a lot to kind of guess about. Um, but yeah, it's exciting. Whenever Nintendo does stuff, it's exciting because it might be good and it might be bad, and it's not going to be in the middle. It's going to be one of those two. Uh,
I mean, so long as they don't name it like the Switch II or the Switchy, Switch U, we should be fine.
so
Uh,
we were talking about before the podcast. You were saying you wonder how much hard drive space they're going to put on it, and we ended up coming around to, well, double what they had before, so that'd be 64 gigs, and so
yeah,
it
Switch 64,
the
uh,
Nintendo Switch 64 or the Nintendo
or
64
the Switch
2.
64. Yeah, that's gonna be so
Oh
stupid.
gosh, I hope that that's what happens, because that will be so funny. But yeah, it'll probably be something. I think that the name will probably be the biggest mistake that Nintendo makes with this. I hope that the name is the biggest mistake, but if I were them, I'd just be boring and I would just call it the Nintendo Switch 2, or. But I don't think they're even going to do that. They're probably going to do something weird, but or maybe the Super
I'm still a
Switch.
fan of
I don't
the
know.
people saying Super Switch. I'm like that's the right kind of stupid.
Yeah, I mean it's a throwback. It's a callback to the Super
But if you're doing that
Nintendo.
callback, I like your Switch 64, as well. So I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the other big news from it is, of course, cartridge. It's still gonna be cartridge based, um, and which makes sense. And they've kind of more or less confirmed that it's still gonna be like, or it's supposed to have some of that Switch form factor where it's like you can be portable and stationary, uh, but the cartridges are gonna have to be way bigger. So, and there's already issues, obviously with cartridges now. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that develops.
So
Um,
I guess I'm
yeah.
confused. Like, how different is a cartridge compared to an SD card? Like, because I thought that's all that those cartridges pretty much were just a proprietary SD card. Um,
No, uh, they don't go up to the sizes that or there was like I forgot a long time ago they had mentioned like cost of performance because those only went up to like 64 gigs or something like that max, and
okay, huh?
so it's not like a special SD. If it was there,
It
you'd be
could
able
go
to
up to
break it that
500
much
or
easier.
a terabyte. Oh, crack into it. Yeah, but I thought that's why I thought it was proprietary. So I thought it was the same sort of tech, just their own form factor and all that stuff. But I guess it's not. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they probably need to hit. I mean, they'll probably hit 128 gigs on the cartridge, and I don't know. I kind of wonder if they're going to start just downloading. If they're going to start just having like everybody else, have the game really not be complete on the cartridge and force you to download, because that seems to have been a security concern. Like that's why all the games get hacked and put in 4K, the day before launch, even.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. As far as I mean, because the fact that Zelda was already available out, on PC through emulation before it even was officially released.
Yeah,
So it's obviously the system is broken. So uh, that is one of the rumors is if everything goes digitally, it makes it a lot easier to control everything. But they've already confirmed it's going to be cartridge still. So uh, I think it makes sense for a lot for kids and stuff like that, and the quick reading. It loads faster than a CD would in a lot of ways. Uh, you got to think about the form factor because obviously we have discs, but then we spend forever on a PlayStation, still downloading big chunks of it.
yeah,
But also you have the massive hardware to load stuff instantly. You don't have that luxury with a Switch, and you're talking about something that's probably going to be like what PS4 graphics in a handheld form factor. So yeah, it's automatically going to be last gen, but at the same time, it's not a concern. It hasn't been a concern of Nintendo's for a while because they're just going to make their own bespoke style games, and they just need it to fit what they need it to their own model. So long as it's fun and so long as it's entertaining, that's all they care about. They're not in the arms race for the prettiest unit.
do you think, well, we were also talking about this before the podcast, kind of about how they're probably going to put out I don't know, a standard model, and so that they can put out a upgrade model that's not really like more powerful. It just has nicer forward facing
Okay,
stuff.
so what they did is they did confirm it's or not confirm. The rumors are saying that it's supposed to be LCD as well. So that which like a lot of people are kind of annoyed because they already proved how awesome an LED is. And also, yeah, unfortunately, I just hate to burst our bubble from earlier. The OLED Switch currently has a 64 gig hard
Ah,
drive. So yeah,
dang.
we're doomed.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh, so they can just jump it to 128
Hmm.
because that wouldn't be as stupid as a Switch U. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well, yeah, like they're gonna, yeah, we'll probably release it in an LCD screen so that they can, 3 to 5 years later
no, not
re-release
even
it.
3 to 5 years, maybe 2 years. What they'll do is
You
they're
think
gonna
two?
release it and like hands down, like it only took so or they'll do is it may be 4 years at most, I think, because what they'll do is they'll release it in a stupid color and with one vibrant color like they did last time, and they're like, all right, yeah, uh, we're gonna limit the release and make it super hard to find, like they've done with the how many other systems now since the Wii, because that's a really good method for them. Oh, it's limited supply, limited availability. Everyone wants it. They're going to talk about it for the next year and a half to 2 years.
Yeah.
Uh, and we can blame it on other constraints like, oh no, that's hard for fabs or hard for like whatever the world condition. And then after they've sold a year's worth or 2 years worth of ugly, bland generic versions, then they'll come out with a new color variants. I'm like, hey, check out our new color variants. Here's our new limited edition versions. Oh yeah, just like the current Switches, the limited edition versions don't come with the game. Like the
Yeah.
olden days, they just come with it's just the unit that's limited edition. You still have to buy that game separate because we're Nintendo and we're cheap. And then eventually they'll come out with an OLED screen and be like, "Hey, aren't you guys glad we finally came out with this new version? Oh, you already have an older version. I bet you're gonna pay more money for this one anyways. Good, thank you for your contribution.
Yeah,
I've
the drip feed
I'm
sucks. But you're right. That's what they're probably gonna do. It's probably gonna be 7-inch screen, which I mean I've just been playing my Switch, on vacation, and it does look good. LCD screen, 7-inch. I have to pull it pretty close to my face sometimes, but that's, well, I don't have to, but it just kind of ends up there. Like sometimes I notice I'm like looking at it like right in my face. But it still looks pretty good for the most part. It's like I'd like it to be like 8-inch screen out of the and OLED out of the gate, and it's like, but but a 9-inch screen is not really something they're probably ever going to do, so they can't really upgrade to it. and then they just need something to drip feed out to people later. It just sucks because it's like, man, can I just get this one thing, and if it breaks, I can get another one, but just get the dang, one thing that works, like that is complete until the next generation. But that's not how they do it. So yeah, it'll probably be all those things. And like, what kind of price do you think they're gonna go for? What was the Switch whenever it came out? Four,
Honestly,
three,
um
350?
I don't remember, but I'll look it up on the fly here.
Okay.
So I honestly don't like the Nintendo's model for that they've been doing for a while, but it's proven effective for them. So let's see. Yeah, the OLED though, I don't know if you actually got a chance to look at one. It is noticeably better.
Yeah, it's
A
awesome.
buddy at a
Yeah.
buddy of mine at work had he bought it specifically for Zelda. He
Yeah.
had one. He's like, I don't know if I should, blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, it's not gonna. It's like it will look better. But I'm like, you're gonna be playing it inside, so you know, it's that doesn't matter. I mean, if you're gonna be taking, it's like, but he like couldn't help it. The hype of the new Tears of the Kingdom. He's like, yep, I bought it. I went ahead and bought the OLED. I'm like, I went ahead and did that plunge.
I mean,
So
like if I like I don't know, like if I had planned it better and I knew how good Tears of the Kingdom was going to be, I might have done that, ordered the whole big package or whatever. Because when I was getting Tears of the Kingdom at Best Buy, I had pre-ordered it, but a lot of people had pre-ordered like the full box thing, and they were picking up like all kinds of stuff, and I was like, some of that stuff looked pretty cool. I gotta be honest. And if I didn't already have or I don't have an OLED, but if I wanted an OLED, um, and then that would have been the time to do it. But so it's a lot to already have an OLED and then still get a Tears of the Kingdom OLED. But hardware, it's if you take good care of it, then it kind of becomes it's difficult to reacquire that, and that stuff stays pretty expensive as the years go by. So like in 10, 20 years, if you still got a really good working uh, OLED Switch, then um, I don't know. Like I guess other people don't really care about that kind of stuff, but I think it's pretty cool to have that in your collection at the very least.
yeah, so the thing is, so the original MSRP, I couldn't remember if it was 300 or 350, and it was so it was 300 US, 299,
It's pretty good.
and the OLED is was 350 at launch.
Yeah.
Uh,
So this
so
so this Switch 2 will probably be 400, right?
I think they're gonna try to put it below. I think they need. I honestly think to hit mass appeal, they should try to hit the 300 again. Um, I mean, it's unfortunately everything seems to be going up, so I wouldn't be surprised if it came at four.
Yeah,
But if they want to win the hearts and minds, at least make it, at least try not to go above
I
350.
mean,
Um,
if they did do 300, then I would be expecting a OLED 8-inch model in 2 years. Like you said, like I would be expecting a very quick turnaround, relatively quick turnaround, to get something out there that they can charge more for. But yeah, man, 300. I mean, like 300 in 2017 was pretty reasonable, I guess, at the time. Now that is pretty cheap, because of the inflation. I mean, like we're just like in a post-COVID inflation world, and
yeah, and because of that in the way Nintendo operates, I can totally see them trying to, with all the scalpers and stuff like that, and because that happens, it's been going on for a while with Nintendo stuff. As hard as they make it to get, they can totally get away with 400. Fans are going to pay for it.
I'll
But
pay
I
for
mean,
it.
when you look at the Vita came out in 2011 for like 250 US. So, and that had an OLED screen in the original model.
Yeah,
Uh, so I mean,
like that's
granted,
like
it
that's
was the
over a
best
decade
OLED
ago.
screen. Was it?
That's over a decade ago, which is crazy. They had an OLED screen over a decade ago, but you know, yeah, it's yeah. I just I think my guess is 400, and because that allows them to leave it, leave it there at that price point, um, make some money off of it, and it be comfortable into, for the next 5 or 7 years or however long they decide to keep the generation.
Well, once again, like I said, they'll if they do, they bumped it up to 300 to 350 for the OLED version. So if they do 350 they can easily bump up the OLED to to 400 then as well if they
That's
wanted to.
true. Yeah.
Um, but it should always err on the fact that a company is going to be greedy. Doesn't matter what company, just especially this. If you look at like the GPU and computer market this in the last couple of years, they want more money, and so yeah, the customer loses in the end. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna it's probably safer to to bank on 400, and if it's anything cheaper, you'll be happy, and
Yeah.
if it's anything more expensive, you can be upset.
Yeah. I
um,
think more than 400, and you are getting into that zone where it's hard for parents to buy that for a kid. Uh,
Dude, I think 400 is crazy to buy for a kid, especially when you're thinking about something that's potentially breakable. I mean, especially, I just want them to come out with, they need to come out with a better Joy-Con, something that isn't janked and broken, you know,
oh,
because the
yeah.
Joy-Con drift still happens with brand new hardware, new controllers. It's something that they have to come ground up redesign, and
Yeah.
it's just I'm not happy with Nintendo.
I remember reading about that, and I forget what the reason was for it, but they ended up being able to, like in later models, get it better but not perfect. I don't know. I've just been playing with the Pro controller, almost exclusively, so I don't really have that issue. But yeah, they need to, hopefully, like, that's kind of why I hope that the Switch 2 is mostly iteration and raw power improvement, because like I think that everything with the Switch is um is like design wise is fine and is good. It just leave it design wise where it is, and just iterate and improve on what's already there. But yeah, like hopefully they'll just go, okay, we have everything we need. We're gonna make it more powerful, and we're gonna do like one other or a couple other little things that make it different and stuff, and then we're just gonna make sure that the actual controllers freaking work, and also don't take how many years? 3 years to add Bluetooth uh, audio, which doesn't work very well at all. It sucks. I couldn't get my headphones to connect whenever I was trying to play at the airport. So I ended up having to. So they've given out headphones on one of my flights, and I was like, oh yeah, and I just plugged it in. But anyway, speaking of scalpers, how hard do you think this is going to be to get? Like how many months do you think you're going to have to wait before you can get one
Oh, a
at
year,
this?
at least a year.
Dang,
Um,
wow, that is
I
just going to
mean,
suck.
if it took longer, it took way longer than that for the Nintendo Wii. Um,
Yeah.
and the Switch was
Well,
more than it was about a year.
The Wii is the Wii was an outlier. It's not going to happen like that
Dude, the
again.
Switch, they did the same thing with the Switch.
The Wii
The
was
Switch,
devastating. The Wii was insane.
I was working retail at the time. I was working at a
But
GameStop.
the
Yes,
Switch
I
didn't
know how
take
bad
that.
it was.
It what didn't take as long as the Wii. Like I
Not
think,
as long, but it still took over a year before you could readily go into Walmart or something like that and just
and,
pick one up.
and get one. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, maybe.
I mean,
So it's good. Yeah, but you're
it
probably
took.
right. It's going to be a year.
I think it was like 7 months in when I picked up mine, and that was like a spare the moment thing. I just happened to be stateside, and I happened to be stuck here for an extended period of time, and so I just happened like they had one available at like a Best Buy, so I picked it up. Picked up a few games, and that's why I can like I had enough time on my hands to play a lot of Breath of the Wild. Uh,
Yeah.
and so that was like other than that, I wouldn't have probably bought it when I did.
Right.
But it was like I said, it was a spur of the moment thing. I didn't have anything else with me, and it was still really hard to find even at like 7 months in. I mean, it was towards the end of the first year that you could start getting it like more or less consistently. But I mean, even if you look at the PlayStation fives and the Xbox Series X's, I mean, those only have become readily available in the last 6 months.
Yeah, it's hard
I mean,
though
yeah, you
because
can it's logistics and stuff like that, and
COVID,
the
like,
chip shortage.
I mean, COVID just like really, just really messed that up. So there were going to be shortages, I think, regardless for PS5 and Xbox. There were going to be shortages regardless, but how long they were was definitely exacerbated by COVID. I'm sure that it's going to be at least 6 months. But man, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably going to be a year. It's probably, I mean, so I'm just going to have to pre-order, as soon as that comes up, and hope that my pre-order doesn't get, you know, taken by scalpers. It's probably going to be a year of ignoring scalpers, and being like, well, should I? Well, should I?
Well,
And
I mean, the big thing is if you know you're into it right away, then you can really play hard in the initial beginning.
yeah,
But who knows? Who knows what the world market's going to be at the time? I mean, theoretically, we're going to have if this comes out 2024. I mean, unfortunately, the new Arizona fabs for a lot of the chips, TMNC. Shoot, I can't remember. But one of the silicon manufacturers for like a lot of graphics cards and stuff like that. There's at least two or three supposed to be built for different fabs down in Arizona area. And so those aren't supposed to be up and running until like 2024. So those won't be any help. So most of the stuff is coming from Taiwan, probably. And so yeah, all that stuff is going to be limited. So at that time, we're going to be looking at the world events depending on when it comes out. Because I think was it came out in was it March originally, the Switch?
that was weird. It did come out in March. Yeah,
Yeah, like March 2017 or something like that. So,
yeah.
we're yeah. So when we're talking about that, we're looking at uh, you know, we're in the U.S. If it comes out in March again, we'll just have had a sworn in the new president, and so depending on how that cluster goes, we'll see how much we're on fire, and then that of course will subsequently affect the world, because
Yeah.
depending on good or bad relations, trade sanctions, and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, we got more important pressing things, but at the same time, if it comes out, say, September timeframe, you're gonna want it to come out a little bit before. Like you don't want it right before Black Friday. You want it at least maybe September is if it would be my guess is if you're looking at like the end of summer, fall area. Um, but once again, they can release that thing whenever, and it'll sell gangbusters.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but
a March release would, like, in 24. That would be really something. I'd be really glad for that. But I mean,
yeah,
the other
considering the fact
thing,
that they just started giving out dev kits, I feel like it would have to be at
I
least a year out.
think that they've been talking about rumors of those dev kits being out for over a year. I think
Yeah,
they've been
it
out for a
depends on.
while.
Well, yeah, it depends on how which rumors you go based off of, and if you're
Like,
actually going based off those old ones.
obviously not every company, but I think there's probably some companies like Square, Square Enix, and the big boys. I think they've had a dev kit since the earliest possible point, because Nintendo is going to be wanting them to make good games for their Switch and stuff like that. But I mean, the silver lining on the scalping stuff is, like, whenever the Switch 2 comes out, there's not going to be really any games for it. Probably we've had our Zelda, so we're not going to get another one of those for 4 years probably, and there might be a Metroid, like Metroid 4 or something like that, or a Mario, but there's probably not going to be a lot of just killer apps that you're going to be like, dang, I just need to get that. So kind of like the Switch whenever it came out. It'll be fine to wait for that point. It just sucks when you have to wait. Um, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be. I don't know. Like, I just don't think there'll be very many games for it whenever it comes out. So we'll.
I think they're going to have some solid stuff because they saw how well it did for them this opening sequence.
It's
So
not they won't have
I
no.
mean,
It's not they won't have anything. I think they will have, like, a big name. They'll have like a Mario that is freaking ready to go. But like because like with the Switch, they had Breath of the Wild, which for whatever you think about it, it sold gangbusters and everybody loved it, or a lot of people loved it.
It's a system seller by itself. Yeah, that
Exactly.
that alone.
And so
Uh,
I think you're right in that point that they're gonna have a system seller ready to
well,
go at
you had
launch.
Mario Kart. If not, if it wasn't day one, it was shortly after it came out. You had a lot of. I mean, granted, they were able to salvage a lot of stuff from the Wii U.
Yeah,
And
Mario Kart was
so
a
that
port,
really,
right?
yeah, originally as a port. The current stuff they're bringing out is some of it's new, some of it's from their mobile, but their newest season of content has been pretty solid from everything I've heard. I've stepped away from it, so
Okay.
but I'm gonna get back into it soon. I just don't. Well, I gotta let my. It's perfect for the kids because you can have the assist modes on. Essentially auto go, no falling off the rails. Like there's almost it's the perfect thing for kids. So that's but the problem is then you get to play with the Joy Cons and just gotta make sure that that's perfect for their size hands, but at the
Yeah.
same time they're flimsy pieces of garbage, as we just talked about. So
Yeah.
I really don't feel like spending $70 for a pair of Joy Cons. Like the current price of controllers nowadays is ridiculous. You have 75 bucks for a lot of the PlayStation 5 controllers as well.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, currently there's a sale going on the controllers for PS5, so I just picked up myself up a second controller. So that's for 50 bucks, which is acceptable. I also picked up another controller from prior, like as a new Facebook Marketplace purchase, and I'm like, I bought it from a dude. I'm like, this is new, sealed, 50 bucks, just generic white. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I look at him, I'm like, you work at a GameStop, don't you? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Okay, I can care less if you got this with employee
I can
discount
I
or
can
if it's
smell
off
it
the back
on
of the
you.
truck. I'm like, I've done my time. Um,
You guys
I'm
both
like,
like
how bad
showed
is the
like the
situation?
tattoo.
And it's just like, dude was being jumped around between three different Game Stops,
Yeah.
because that's how short-handed they are. But
Yeah.
yes, no, I'm like, all right, sure thing, man. I was like, let me know if you get any new colors. If anything else falls off the back of the truck list, let me know.
Tag, dude.
Uh,
That's funny.
you got to make your hustle somehow.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like I said, I don't, so long as I don't know exactly how, like what the situation is, I'm like, I just know I'm getting this new controller from this dude. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's, I don't know, the 2024 makes the most sense. I mean, we'll be theoretically like halfway through the current generation life cycle, and so that'll be nice and it'll be interesting for people. It'll be a good power spec bump, you'd think, uh, because it's certain games are having trouble. Like by that time you got a new Pokemon game that could easily be set up to launch around the same time, or shortly after a new Switch launches, you'd think, and it'd
Mm.
be powerful enough to actually run it without running like garbage, like the
Yeah.
last ones did.
Maybe they could actually
So
put some more Pokemon in there, like all of them, but whatever. I'm never
yeah,
gonna do that.
so but yeah, all right then. Enough about the Switch. What else you got?
So one other thing is Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Actually, a lot of my D&D buddies, uh, some of them play a couple of them play video games pretty regularly, but most of them don't. And but everybody, well, not everybody, but like the D&D group has jumped onto Baldur's Gate 3, and people are very excited about it within my group, and really at large too. Everybody is getting on this Baldur's Gate 3. I was talking to you before the podcast about how I didn't really understand why this Baldur's Gate 3 is being so highly praised because it's been out in early access for a long time. So I just don't know what all they added and what all they released at the full release. So I guess it's just a bunch of stuff. But I guess the main thing is to say that right now The Metacritic score is 97, which is 1 point higher than Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So it is making a strong running for Game of the Year on Metacritic, at least. Um, I think that that will probably fall. Usually the scores usually scores fall as time goes on, um, but we shall see. Anyway, people are loving it. I want to play it, but I also know I don't have time or much money to throw at it, and there's so many other games that are in front of it. So like I still haven't really dug into Street Fighter, and I still need to get Final Fantasy 16, which I'm thinking I'm gonna have to put. I might have I might not be able to play at all this year, but yeah. So people are loving Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, so Larian Studios is behind it. The guys who did Divinity: Original Sin, and so I really liked Divinity: Original Sin and Original Sin 2. The way they handle multiplayer is phenomenal. I was able to play Original Sin 2 with two other friends. We play consistently, couple days a week for like a month, maybe 2 months almost. Uh, and most of that was all in the flipping tutorial area because it was just so much you can do, so many people you can talk to, accidentally discover, mess around with, and it was super awesome. The only problem is by the time we got off the island, and then we got on a boat, got to the main area, we were kind of burnt out by that time. We had just been playing. That was like our sole game that we've been playing as a group, and so we ended up not really playing much after that, and which was a shame. We played a little bit into that portion, but we were just like, all right, we're kind of done. But it was just so much you can do, and it was such a. It was like it made me feel like a kid again when you only had enough money for like 1 or 2 games a year. You might get lucky and you might get like 3 or 4 depending on how Christmas or birthday rolls around. But other than that, out of my own pocket, I barely had anything. And so those epically long RPGs were like the best bang for your buck. And it's just like that kind of like made me feel that way. There was just so much content and so many ways you could do it, and the replayability was awesome. Uh, but unfortunately, we never made it past that, and I've only made it I don't know, a dozen hours or so into the original Divinity, playing that 2 player or Divinity Original Sin 1. So because I have barely played in the grand scheme of things the first 2 games, I'm sure as hell not going to play Baldur's Gate 3, just because I know I'm not going to get very far into it.
Yeah,
But I know it's going to be amazing. I have
yeah,
no doubt. They're one of the few studios that I can I would be blindly confident, be like, yeah, they're making a style game like that. Hands down, they're gonna knock it out of the park.
yeah. Especially, Larian before Baldur's Gate 3 was announced back when they were working on Original Sin and stuff like that. People were saying, "Hey, Larian Studios, these are the guys that should make these are the guys that should make like the flagship D&D game." Because that's what they had already made with Divinity and then Divinity 2. Um, so it's been, people have always known that they were going to do a really good job. Um, and yeah, I mean, I have like the main friend I have that's playing it. He set up with his other friends that are not my friends, but his other friends, and they are doing like a campaign, like a group campaign or whatever in Baldur's Gate 3. I need to check with them and see how it's going. But it sounds super cool. But yeah, it's just like, cause gosh, it's got to be like what? Oh, it's got to be easily over 50 hours. So probably more like an 80 or 100 hour game, right? I
That'd
wonder.
be you're looking at least for probably over 50 hours for a single playthrough. Um, and depending on how you play characters, chances are, I mean, if it's anything like Original Sin, or at least Original Sin 2, like that game was hilarious because uh, you can play an undead, so you're just you're a skeleton, and people freak out when you talk to them because you're like they see a walking skeleton, so you have to wear a bucket on your head or eventually wear a mask. You can kind of wear someone else's skin, and like shake someone's hand. Wow, your hand's pretty bony there. Like wow, you're just like oh, you're just skin and bone. You're just like it's all hanging from you, stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
it was just so much good dialogue and so origin like witty. It
Yeah.
was that team is pretty awesome,
Well,
and
I just looked up on how long to beat, and I guess you can run through the main story in 32 hours. Main plus sides is 55 and a half hours, and then completionist is 102 hours. So that'll move around a bit as the game settles and everybody really everybody plays it. But yeah, so that's about right. I mean, you want to be able to get to the main story, and I think that the every game I've played where I have looked at how long it took me to get through the main story and looked at how long to beat, and I usually feel like the how long to beat is very fast. But I play games kind of slow as it is, but still. Anyway, so
no, I generally do as well. But then again, I'm coming from the old school mentality of I gotta check everything, look for everything, see if there's anything hidden. It's like when it comes to a game like an isometric game, I'm like, okay, I gotta hug every corner, see if I can walk behind a building, see if I find anything secret. It's
yeah, I mean, I
I
just
play it very, very OCD, I guess.
playing Diablo. I ran through a good portion of that game, and especially early on, and I just was too weak. I mean, I guess I just suck, but I was just too weak. I had to go level and go find stuff for a couple extra hours before I could get through a boss. So and that happened a couple times, and so by the end I was kind of like, I mean, I had done some extra stuff, but I was just kind of doing the math, and I was like, man, that like mainlining the story and just getting through the credits, like I was like, that just seems like a little bit of a underestimate, but it is what it is. Yeah. So lament that we're not going to get to play this game. I I want to play it because I'm just so dubious about it being like that good. Um, but I'll just have to take people's word for it. You know.
Well, I don't know. It's also a bit of a nostalgia factor because if you have a history with Baldur's Gate already,
Yeah.
um, and so that's another reason why people are really into it because they're clamoring for it and they're getting what they wanted, and that's a big deal, because it's kind of hard
Good
to
point.
live up to the hype. And so the fact that the fans of the system, they're living up to said hype, so that's really impressive. Now, it may not be what you're expecting from it, coming in kind of fresh from the side, as it were, from the outside looking in. But if you've been around there for so long, it's like kind of like Diablo. It's just like, well, it's people have such nostalgia, strong fondness for one and two, and then when three came out, it did like the console port really well, and it was fun for the multiplayer to a certain extent, but it wasn't there was just something missing. There wasn't as the magic quite wasn't there, but also I think because a lot of the player base had grown up. They don't have the time they had when they were playing it as children. Um, and so, I haven't heard anything bad about Diablo 4, but at the same time, I don't hear people singing the praises as they once did, but people still love Diablo. So like, yeah, it's good. It's a good game, but it's not groundbreaking. And so I guess the fact is, they can meet expectations, which is a huge deal.
Yeah,
So at least credit is due there.
that's true. Yeah, they're doing that. So yeah, you're right about that. I mean, it's gonna get a couple points based on nostalgia uh, alone, but it does seem to be doing well, and it's the hot game right now. I just kind of wonder where it's gonna end up on everyone's game of the year list. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. But it'll be a strong contender at least, I think. But
yeah.
all right, do you need to take a break?
No, I'm good.
All right, so that's it for the news. We're just keeping it pretty short this time around. Uh, Nick just coming back from vacation, and all right, and me just I've been really sick this last couple of weeks. So all right. But as far as game time goes, I mean, you had a lot of travel. So did you get a chance to play your Switch a bunch?
Yeah, I did. I got to play a pretty good amount, both airplane days and a bit in the evenings. Just played a lot of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm 65 hours into that game or more because that's what Nintendo says. And yeah, it's man, it's just a good game. I'm just kind of I finally beat all the well, I think I'd done this by last time, but I beat all the main bosses, all the four main bosses. I haven't beat Ganon yet, but I have access to Hyrule Castle. I've been up there once, and the monsters were too tough at that point. So I was like, ah. So I've been discovering stuff and just looking around and trying to fill in all kinds of stuff. And I've actually managed to get a couple more secrets, some special armor. Found a great fairy fountain. I found another great fairy fountain, the one that will do armor and stuff, which is the one I was looking for. And it was a lot easier to find than I thought. I kind of went a weird direction with that game. I went the way I thought they wanted you to go, but they also built a lot of other stuff in the kind of close to the starter area, and I kind of bypassed a lot of that. So I was rediscovering a lot of sections where I was like, oh, okay, I should have probably come here like, 10, 15 hours into the game. But anyway, but I went to I went to the armor fairy and they were like, you got to go do this other thing before I'll talk to you. And I was like, dang it. And so I'm looking for that quest because I thought I remembered it was some quest. And I was like, oh, I remember hearing about that one. And then I went and looked where I thought it was, also where it told me to go, and I can't find it. So I just got to search around some more. But that game is just full of surprises. It just kind of keeps sort of going on, and it is masterfully crafted to make you do just like 5 more minutes. It's like I'm just gonna do like one more thing, just like okay, I did that. Well, I'm really close to this other thing, and it just goes on and on and on. So, but it was great to play it in the airport and on the plane, and all that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm 65 hours in. I'm thinking I'll probably play it for. It feels like I probably got another 10 or 20 hours in it, depending on how much. I think I'll probably be able to beat Ganon and maybe. If I really tried, I could probably get through that castle and win now, but I probably need another 10 or 15 hours to do it fairly comfortably. So I need to do that and then probably wrap it up because there's other stuff to do. But it's been a lot of fun. That's what I've been playing. What have you been playing, Joe?
All right. Well, I was going to ask you. So have you been collecting the Korok seeds then? Have you been reuniting lost buddies?
Yeah, the Korok seed stuff is much better in this game than the last one. The other one, it was just like, oh, you found a thing or you do a stupid little thing. But this one, you have to you find the guy. He's like, oh, help me get my friend, and sometimes you can just carry him, but but those are the most boring ones, and that's pretty rare. Usually, the best way to do it is to build some kind of machine and fly them or drive them to where you're supposed to go. Um, and
Yeah, I've seen video where it's like a gyrocopter where you just strap them to the side and you're like, all right, like we're just gonna express you there. And I'm like, okay, that's what you'd have to do because otherwise it's tedious as all get out. But at least they reward you properly with this one.
because they give you two Korok seeds whenever you do one of those.
It helps with you with the inventory. And so I was just like, all right, like, if you expand your inventory, that's clutch. But with the, I've seen people do metagaming where it's just like, all right, so my buddy's this way. So they kind of like build a rocket and be like, all right, I'm going to strap you to this and try to launch you there and get you there as close as I can, like shooting darts. And
Yeah,
I'm like, that's pretty funny.
yeah. There's all you can create all kinds of mini games with it. But yeah, that is a cool part. Every time I see one of those, I was doing one every time I saw one. Um, but recently I was like, okay, I don't really need that much more inventory space. It's always fun. It's always good to have more, but I was trying to do other stuff, so I would just mark them on my map and come back to them later when I felt like it. Because there is a lot of stuff in that game where you're going some place to do something, and then there is stuff that like jumps in there and goes, and you're like, well, I could just do this, but it's like a 5 or 10 minute activity, and it And when you have five of those things, it makes going to what you're trying to do just take forever. It's like I just need to get what I'm trying to get, and then I'll come back and do more of these later. So I've been kind of doing that, and been playing around with the horses some more. And there's so many corners to that game, and just like, wait, what is over here? Have I been here? Oh wait, I haven't discovered this. I passed right by this earlier, and um, it's it's dang good. But yeah, the Korok seeds are good. The guys with this, there's a guy that's holding up a sign everywhere, and you have it's stupid, but it's he's holding up a sign that won't hold itself up. So you have to build something that will hold it up until, and then he'll be like, "Oh, it's standing up. Let's get him secured." And then they'll get it, and then he'll get it secured, and then he'll give you like some money and some prizes, some items, uh, usually consumables, and that's that's been pretty cool. There's just so many like little satisfying mini games. That game is just a big string of really satisfying mini games that all fit together somehow, and it's just good, man. It's a really good game.
All right. You asked me what I've been playing, and I kind of so when my kid was sick, had like I was up quite a bit late, but at the same time, I was looking for something uh, simple to play, like on and off, and while they were sleeping, or like between coughing and such. So I went ahead and I ended up diving into GTA 5 because it's on Game Pass, and I was just like, yeah, you know what, I own this for like the PS3, and then I played it before they patched it with the first person view, uh, and so I'm like, all right, it's literally two generations later. I never really got too far into it originally, and I put up a bit of time into it, and I realized the game's fun, but they have so much boring crap you have to go through. This is like, we need to show you all the side stuff you can do. So we want you to be able to like, we want you to we're gonna force you to do yoga. We're gonna force you to go through these slow side missions, and like, I mean, you can skip a lot of the side missions, but I'm like, I wanted to see what exactly they're all about because those kind of games, when you have like the stranger missions and stuff, when you just meet randos, sometimes you can get really funny or wacky things to happen, and it's just like, I'm like, yeah, there's just something about this game that I'm missing. I'm like, I just compared to like a Saints Row the Third, like I just that game was stupid and hilarious in its hilarity, but it was like the right kind of stupid, like I always say. But
Yeah.
I just feel that there's just some sort of charm or something missing, like, from this game. But then I started doing some of the heists, and I'm like, that's where it comes together, and I can see why if people are trying to do the online bit and trying to do heists, I can see that being more entertaining for sure. But yeah, it's just it's a good game to just kill some time and do some check boxes and just like, all right, let me do a lot of the side quests first. But I just feel like the map is almost too big, because there's a lot of dead space.
Uh,
And I was just like, well, you have the whole like Hollywood Hills, essentially, the Los Santos area is like, just essentially LA, and but then you have this mountain range, and then you have the little stuff on the top, and I'm like, just getting there is a pain in the butt. And so that's just like, it's cool that you have such a big game world. It's not cool that it takes me far too long. I just want a map there. I just want a quick travel. Um, and that's unfortunate if you don't want to be in the world and really have a good time in it. Uh, but I don't know. It's. I'm still having fun with it. I was just like, all right, I'm actually getting into the story more than I did originally, and I made it farther than I did years ago. So I was like, all right, this is fine enough. But then it made me really want to play Red Dead 2 because I never got to finish that game. Uh, so I was like, what, I'm probably going to end up picking that one back up as a like an old game, to play new. But that was just one of the things I ended up playing. I actually didn't get to play, like I mentioned before, I didn't get to play a lot of Gran Turismo 7, but they do have a new car out for um so the movie's coming out, and then if you go ahead and like watch like the trailer for the movie type of deal or whatever, they end up giving you a free car. So early on, is really nice to have this
Mm,
new car. um, but yeah, the I started playing Pistol Whip. Old game, playing it again because it's they have a free upgrade to PSVR 2, and that game's still awesome. The controllers are much nicer. So they have the I forget what they call it, like the haptic controllers or like the triggers. So just like the PlayStation 5 controller itself, you have the tension between the pistols. So certain games will allow you to, like Call of Duty and stuff, will have the trigger tension where it's like a soft pull, but then you actually have to physically click in the R2 or L2 to commit to firing and pulling the trigger.
okay.
And yeah, I haven't really done that with. I've heard about it, but I hadn't done it with any of the actual PlayStation 5 games. Uh, but their controllers for the VR have the same function, and so playing Pistol Whip, they have you can do single pistol, or you can do like a kimbo, so two pistols out, and it feels so much more natural with these controllers opposed to the PS1 version with the Move. The Move controller sucked so badly, and it just didn't feel right. And it's just really satisfying being able to point in two different directions and hit two different targets simultaneously. It's literally living out the action fantasy essentially, and that game is still phenomenal. They do the same thing with. So I played enough of that, but I found out that all the trophies reset. So which is good and bad because I had some progression trophies that take a long time. Same with Beat Saber. I'm like, oh man, I had some like the long term ones you play for X amount of hours or do X amount of things. It's like, well, now I have to reset to square one, which is fine because you're like, well, I get to work towards that. But I'm like, I already put so much time into it. I just want to complete that trophy list. But I guess I get to double open trophies. So for anyone who likes to trophy hunt, there you go. uh,
Got it.
yeah. But Synapse, I started playing Synapse. It's a shorter game. I'm like halfway through it. It's only a handful of hours long, um, but it's super fun. It's super worth it. I've heard that there's also like a harder mode and a true ending mode or something like that.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so there's a reason to replay it as well. It's not procedurally generated or anything like that, but the way that game is set up, you're essentially going into a criminal, or not criminal, but you're going into a person's mind, and in that concept is almost like a Inception or something like that, right? So they're hooked up to a machine, and you're invading their consciousness, and you're fighting the enemies on their way through to get to them, to more or less uncover a big plot device. You need to for XYZ or whatever, and so you have pistol with one hand originally, and then you have telekinesis with the other. And it's pretty fun. You have a little leveling system path you can go up, and it's really satisfying. It's I don't know. I'm enjoying the crap out of that game. It's not a it's I forget how much it was, like $40 or something like that. Uh, and despite it being a short game, I still think it's worth the price.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Synapse has been a really. Uh, I've watched a couple people play it a little bit, and I've seen people talk about it a bit, and it's kind of a classic game now. And yeah, like you said, not very long, but definitely very well regarded. And they've always been. I think was there a Synapse 2, or
No, this is just that. It's a new IP.
I thought this was.
Yeah.
Wait, how old is this game?
A couple months.
Oh, isn't there another game called Synapse that's like really famous?
Are you thinking of Syndicate?
Maybe I'm thinking of Syndicate.
So you might be thinking of Syndicate. But Synapse, on the other hand, this is a new IP for PSVR. So yeah, but yeah, it has dull like color palette, something similar to Super Hot, and it's an excellent game. It's a good showpiece. I highly recommend it. And
Oh, I'm
yeah,
thinking of
I mean,
Frozen Synapse. That's what I'm
oh,
thinking
okay,
of. Yeah.
that that
That
was like the third person.
yeah, okay. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay. Sorry, my bad. My bad. All right, go
Yeah,
on.
it's a very different game.
Yeah.
Enjoyable game. That's still a good game too. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I actually forgot about. Yeah, there was two of those, and I don't think they made a third. Uh,
Synapse, Frozen Synapse, and then Frozen Synapse Prime or something like that. Yeah.
but yeah, no, totally. I'll probably, it's fun to go through. I'm having a good time with the PSVR 2, and there's a lot of solid things out there for it. And so I'll be on that one for a while. They just I don't know, I just discovered. I don't know how long it's been out for, but uh I had purchased the Room VR for PSVR 1.
Okay. Uh oh, I lost you.
Have an update.
Wait,
All
you're
right,
back.
let's see.
You're back now.
All right.
Okay.
I
Sorry,
didn't touch anything. Okay.
you froze for like 2 seconds and then you're back. Okay. Sorry.
Roger that. Okay, I thought
Sorry
you
about
lost
that.
my audio.
No. Okay.
Um,
Keep going.
no, but the Room VR, they ended up having a free update to PSVR 2. I think they actually did some visual upgrades too as well. So I'm looking forward to that. There's um, I paid for an upgrade for Saints and Sinners, the Left 4 Dead, not Left 4 Dead. I'm sorry, Walking Dead game. So and that one people seem to love. So I got a whole catalog, of stuff ready to go, which is kind of funny because I keep on finding other things that like Steam was having a Mega Man sale for like the entirety of all the Mega Man games, pretty much for like $30, and I'm like, oh man, I'm really like I thought about buying them, and then I heard that there's some frame rate issues for Mega Man X collections, and you have to go into the files to change change some numbers so the frame rates stay consistent. I'm like, all right, that's too much work for me. There, everyone's like, all the comments were like, just play it emulated. I'm like, all right, sounds good to me, buddy. So I saved myself $30 there. Plus, it'd just be in my catalog. And then there's a Resident Evil Humble Bundle sale right now. It's Resident Evil like 1 through 7.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's 7 for maybe even. I think also have Village. It's like all of them, but they don't have the new versions of like two. I don't think they don't have the new version of 4,
Okay.
but and I'm not sure what the 2 and 3 are, if they're the new versions or not. But like for like 25 or $30, I'm like, that's kind of tempting too, because there's quite a few in the middle. Like I've been missing on PC. I have them on different consoles, different PS2, PS1. I'm like, it'd be nice to have them just all on PC. But I'm like, once again, I'd be buying them just for the sake of just having them collect dust. I'm like, no, I'll just save my money. Wait, just step back and uh, enjoy my VR games. So that's kind of, obviously I've burned through a lot of spare cash recently,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
about to dump a few more. Luckily, I have quite a bit of points saved up for like Amazon and stuff like that, and some gift cards and stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to be buying. That's probably where I buy my case, and uh, probably buy some other parts from there, and save a little money that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. So I don't know. This will end up being a PSVR minute, like every week or every podcast now.
Yeah. It's be doing a little bit of PSVR, but I'm glad you're putting it to work. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah, I'm enjoying it. So
Yeah.
that's about it for what I've been playing. And so you've been on you did a couple flights, and you said you got to play quite a bit. But did you catch any airplane movies while you're at it?
No, I didn't
Nothing
catch any
worth your
airplane movies,
time?
but before I left, did I talk about Oppenheimer on the last podcast we did?
I don't remember it, so probably not.
Okay, I don't think I did talk about it. I won't say
You can
much.
always edit that part out.
I must have, yeah. I went and saw Oppenheimer. Didn't see it in like IMAX, 70 millimeter, or however many different ways there are to see it. But I saw it just on a regular screen, and it was a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm not gonna really say. I don't really have too much to say about it, other than the first half. I understood what they were doing and why, but the first half is like a TikTok reel. It is very short scenes, and they're jumping around in time. It's a 3-hour movie, so they're trying to get through a lot of the early boring stuff that they have to tell you really, really fast, so they can get to the more interesting, higher stakes stuff later. And anyway, so the first about hour of the movie is just really kind of it's hard to watch. It was hard to watch for me, but I did talk to somebody at work who's a lot younger than me, who's in his early 20s, and he was like, the first hour was the best part, and then the last just got so slow, and I was like, yeah, that was just a generational thing, I guess, because it just the early part just felt like not a movie. It felt like a YouTube video or something. Still pretty well made, and overall it was very good. That's really my only nitpick about it, because it does pull it together, and it's good. If you feel like watching a 3 hour movie biopic about the dude that spearheaded the invention of the atom bomb, then that's the one. That's the one for you. But yeah,
That's Cillian Murphy in that one.
yeah. Peaky Blinders guy,
Yeah. Also,
Scarecrow.
28 Days Later.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That was like the first thing I ever saw him in. Yeah, man. That was man. He's very good. He's a very good actor and all that too. But yeah, that's what I watched. What did you watch, Joe?
I actually had time to watch a movie for a change.
Wow.
I ended up watching the Operation Fortune, the new Guy Ritchie movie, or one of the it's like I haven't seen one of his
Uh,
films in a while.
I like Guy
Um,
Ritchie a lot.
yeah, I was really into his early stuff. I think the last thing I seen of his was The Man from Uncle,
Oh, okay.
which it's I actually liked it, though it wasn't it was arguably not that great as a whole, but um, I mean that also had was it Henry Cavill in it, and I honestly think anything he's in is mediocre.
Okay.
I've not been impressed by his film career. So despite everyone loving The Witcher, I think that's probably one of the reasons why I've never got into it, because like Superman and Mission Impossible that he's in, he was never anything that great in my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
but I actually did like the old TV show The Man from Uncle. That's why I gave it a shot. Then I just said like, oh, it's Guy Ritchie. That explains a bit, and of course, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels and stuff.
Well,
But being
go ahead.
yeah, oh no, I was going to being a Guy Ritchie movie. Of course, this one has to have Jason Statham in it,
Yeah.
because I would say like 60-70% of his movies have him in, but he kind of discovered him, so therefore he's like obligated. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen The Gentleman?
No, is that supposed to like I didn't know if that was supposed to be a tie-in to Kingsman at all or anything like that.
No, it's definitely not a tie into
Okay.
Kingsman. But if you like Guy Ritchie, The Gentleman feels a lot more. I don't. I haven't seen Operation Fortune, but The Gentleman feels a lot more like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. It actually feels
Mhm.
a lot like Snatch, if I'm going to be really specific. But it's different. It's definitely very different in the ways that it's still a Guy Ritchie movie, so it's like a lot of smash cuts and it's funny and stuff like that. But that one I liked a lot. The first out the gate, I was like, because I saw it in the theater and I was like, this might suck because of some of the dialogue. But then I was like, okay, I see what they're doing here, and it's good. But how is Operation Fortune?
I liked it. Now just mentioning how things should be like Snatch, I'm like, now if he made Aladdin and made it like Snatch, then maybe Aladdin would have been worth it.
That would have been pretty good. Yeah.
But yes, no, Operation Fortune. It was a solid movie. It was what you'd call a good popcorn movie. There's it's not groundbreaking in any form, but it is solid entertainment. I felt it. It's like it's a more or less if you had the Mission Impossible team, but instead having them be less dramatic and more just like comically invested, because it's like if you make it's like that fine line between Mission Impossible and like the Ocean's Crew, an Ocean's movie, and so it's somewhere in between there, more towards the side of like the Oceans, but like officially sanctioned or unofficially, but it's a government thing. So that's what they do is they handle the things that the government needs them to do. But they're their secret side ops team, and they do it with their you know savoir faire. And it's like you have Carrie Ellis, Princess Bride fame, as their handler essentially, and they do some good stuff. Guy Ritchie does some good stuff with sound and music,
Yeah.
uh, and I really did like quite a bit of that. They have the only part that was really odd was their female lead. Because it's a whole British crew and they have like an American in it, and so that's the female lead, which was Aubrey Plaza, which I'm not familiar with. Um,
She's been
but
around.
they made her spots like was it the Community, like I'm quirky, kind of. At least in Community, it was meant to be tongue in cheek and to be like it's a satire, so it was funny that way. But this one was just like, are you on some sort of spectrum? Because everyone has a certain tone, and you're like, I'm just going to be different to be different, and I'm yeah, I don't know, to stand out more because I got to be a foil kind of, or like I got to be stand out from Jason Statham's character, who I don't know, it was just very weird. A lot of her parts, and my wife was watching this like this doesn't seem tonally like the same movie. Like she got the script and read it completely in a different mindset or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like I don't know. I haven't seen too much Aubrey Plaza stuff. She's been around for a while. The only thing I really remember her in, which she had a small part in, was Scott Pilgrim, but she was the hilarious like sister or friend's sister or something like that that worked everywhere. That like every time they would go into a bar or a place of business, she would be working there, and they're like, "How many jobs do you have?" But yeah, she's been around for a while, and I think everybody has detractors, but I feel like what you're talking about has been said before about her or something similar. So it might just be the style that she chooses to portray as an actress. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I feel like it was just not on the same page as directing wise. But there's also Hugh Grant, who plays like the biggest criminal like overlord. He is channeling uh I don't know what in his mindset he was going for. See, because we were trying to figure this out, my wife and I. We were like, okay, well, um, we think he's going for like Michael Caine, but like that, like Michael Caine when he's like super smooth and suave, and he's just like he has a certain tone about him. Like we need Michael Caine, but we don't want to pay Michael Caine prices, and
I'm
so we're
Michael.
gonna get Hugh Grant. No, but it's like something more in line with like when anything where he's more cheeky and like just he's being like more off the cuff, closer to like an Austin Powers Gold member or something like that. Not
Yeah.
quite that extreme, but at the same time, so Hugh Grant's character just he kind of every scene he was in, he kind of just ate it up, and it was great. And he was like the highlight. He kind of stole the show for it. His whole bit is he's just this big criminal guy who, uh, he's the in that they need, and so they hire Hollywood. They blackmail a Hollywood actor,
Okay.
um, to go ahead and who Hugh Grant's character like loves. He wants to meet, and he's like they tried paying him like millions of dollars or something like that to just pop out of a birthday cake, and the dude's like, no, I'm not doing it. And that the Hollywood actor is played by Josh Hartnett, and
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with him either. I know his face, but I just not familiar with his work.
I
Uh,
think he kind of disappeared for about 5 to 10 years, because like the last thing I remember him being in was like Lucky Number 11, and then
that's how I knew him from. I knew him from that, and
and a,
like I didn't
and a couple other things. I mean, he was in like Sin
70
City.
Days a Night. He was in 70 Days a Night is what I remembered him in.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so
anyway,
yeah,
Yeah, so he was around for a while, and then it kind of dropped off the face of the earth, and now he's back because he was in Black Mirror, and he's in this movie, and he's been in a couple other things recently too.
Um, he was in Oppenheimer.
He was, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he was in that. That's where I saw him.
Um, but yeah,
Good
it's
catch. Good
uh
catch.
so the he ends up being like I said he had so they blackmail him into going on the mission with them, and it's just it's pretty funny. It's yeah, like I said, Hugh Grant's character just it kind of he kind of makes the whole movie like super worth it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's other good moments, but like that's just a lot of the latter half with Hugh Grant, and it is just super funny.
Yeah.
And then like he has this bit towards the end that's kind of perfect. Uh,
Well,
so like I did like the movie. Like I thought it was a little, like it was. I feel like they kind of forced a lot of it felt like really forced and like pushed. But once
mm,
again, if you just sit back for a popcorn movie, you're like, okay, you don't need a lot of plot device. It kind of felt something in line with what was that Netflix movie that came out with The Rock and Red Notice,
oh
something like that.
yeah, yeah. Red
Yeah.
Notice
So
with those
it's like
three. Yeah.
yeah. So it was kind of something similar in that vein. Same but different. So it was like if you like that kind of movie, then this isn't too far off. And I didn't mind Red Notice, and I didn't mind this at all. But Hugh
Well,
Grant, like I said,
I,
he was my favorite part of the whole movie.
I really think that you need to watch The Gentleman, not necessarily because I'm sure you'll like it or anything, but I think that but I really want to know your opinion on it. Because if you like this, then and you like Guy Ritchie in general, you really got to watch The Gentleman. It's something you just got to do, even if you end up hating it or whatever. Because I
Oh
want to know
no,
your opinion.
I'm willing to give it a shot. I like I said, especially I like I said, I liked a lot of Guy Ritchie's early stuff, and like I said, I even liked like I said, The Man from Uncle. I thought it was actually really done as far as directing wise, like cinematography and stuff like that. I really like that kind. How I thought it was. I'm one of the few people who like that movie, um, but it wasn't. It didn't. It was just mediocre overall. I think for a lot of the ratings. So I'll totally try to give the Gentleman a try. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I we were in a different library, and we were picking some stuff up for the kids, and I just happened to see it there. I'm like, you know what? I forgot that this movie even came out, and it was like a new release. So it was on Blu-ray. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna go ahead and pick this up, and gave it a shot, and I liked it. So yeah, if you I don't know, I kind of want you to watch it just like I said because Hugh Grant's character is just that he
Yeah,
was funny enough.
I'll go ahead and watch this because this is up my alley. I like all that stuff. So and I like The Gentleman and stuff. So I want to at least give this a try and then
All right.
see how it goes.
Well, I appreciate that recommendation for the gentleman. And well, if you guys made it to this far, we appreciate it. It's yeah. Once again, this is another Dead Pixel, and we are now going to be back on our regular every 2 week schedule. Uh, Good to have you back, Nick. And yeah, this is once again episode 50. Thanks again, y'all. And Nick, what are some words of wisdom for traveling for folks?
Um, Always carry bear spray, even if they
Uh,
don't let you. Just sneak it
I was
on.
very disappointed you didn't send me a photo of you riding a bear.
Yeah, that's gotta wait for next time.
All right. Well, y'all take care. And until next time, take it easy.
Bye.